Dynamic religion. But let judgment run down as waters and righteousness as a mighty stream. The plea of the prophets reaches us today with searching and challenging emphasis. His people, the Lord's elect, had fallen morally and spiritually into the pit of inaction and moral degradation. They had permitted religion to become a rubber stamp and had closed their hearts and heads to vital, spiritualized renewal. In their prosperity they had forgotten God, and in their delight at the things of the world they had forsaken the covenant of God. Israel had gone to sleep religiously, and in her smug complacency had left behind the heights of her religious attainment. A wall had been built between themselves and God, and in this state of spiritual inaction, their moral life became dulled and their spiritual life full of apathy. The prophet was not an alarmist, nor was he a busybody. His words and his message were after all to be taken seriously, but no one had ears to hear. The king, the priests, and the nation wrote him off as a crackpot. He was going around finding a fly in everybody's porch. He was making the good in the nation look very, very bad. Rather than attacking their own moral inaptitude, they attacked their prophet. They belittled him. They made him look ridiculous. In our own day, in our own world, we find a parallel. The parallel, of course, is quite alarming and disturbing to every prophet of God. Determined worldwide attack is being waged against the faith and morals upon which Christian civilization has been built. I'm not referring here to the advancement of communism, although no one but a fool would ignore its power or the godless core of its ideology. I think rather of the equally ruthless and less honest materialism that is gaining control in those countries which for centuries have called themselves Christian. Events in our own land should call the Christian church and Christian people to give ear to the words of the prophet. Scandals involving political leaders have shaken the confidence and conscience of the land. The standards which generations of loyal and patriotic men and women have regarded as helpful are now set aside as irrelevant, unimportant, or even worthy of contempt. Conversely, what generations of loyal men and women have held as unhealthy and destructive the character of family and nation has been whitewashed as progressive. The only way I know that we can meet the indifference of the age, the superficiality of form and religion, is by bringing the dynamic religion of Jesus Christ to bear not only upon the church, but also upon the nation. In fact, this marks the difference between Christ and the Pharisees. They were interested in the letter of the law, and Christ was interested neither in the letter or the law, but in life. He was interested not in how life could serve law, but in how law could serve life. He was concerned that all human life spread roots into God, cast off its self-made chains, and attain both spiritual and material abundance. Like the prophet, Christ was a radical, and yet it is only with the dynamic of a radical religion that we can get to the root of all evil and obliterate it from our world. You say to me, what can I do about it? I'm just a lowly individual. I'm just a citizen, just a working man with very little influence. If you remember the Christian church, you can make your presence felt. Its tendency today is for many of us to go along for the ride without sharing the load. A few weeks ago, I was in Hyde Park and noticed some boys using a toboggan. As they were pulling up the hill, one of the lads said to another, "Unless you pull, you won't get a ride." I think the same can be said of many Christian people. Too few of us are doing the pulling, and too many of us are just riding. The church and the pew and the pulpit and the nation must meet the tasks and with Christ's gospel address the healing of the nation. The dynamic Christian is a frontline soldier. The static Christian is a home-based operator. The dynamic Christian is always on the firing line. The static Christian is the man with a desk job far removed from conflict, controversy, and growth. The dynamic Christian is a pioneer. The static Christian a recluse. The dynamic Christian is not afraid of risk, adventure, creation. The static Christian loves nothing so much as safety, security, and peace. The static Christian is afraid of new ideas. The dynamic Christian is afraid of the lack of one. We need more men like Amos in our pulpits today, men of courage. Amos saw beyond the world of Hebrew society. He saw God, the God of all the earth, the God whose righteous will is creative justice for the many enemy as well as the ally, the poor as well as the privileged. Martin Luther, too, was a radical. A dynamic Christian, he struck a blow for new and better days. He rebuked the greed of the church and the state. He saw God, the God of all the earth, whose love was made flesh in Jesus, whose spirit moved beyond our society to a wider and wiser world. With one blow, he demolished salvation by graft indulgences, magic spells, and rituals. He set his face toward the city of sanity, the city of tomorrow, the city of God. We too must catch the spirit in a day when the nation and the world needs a Christian faith. We need once more a true investment of our stewardship if we are really to do something to change the world in which we live. We need to take this religion, whose praises we sing on Sunday, and make use of it each day we live and mingle with our fellow men. The human need about us is great, and it cannot be met unless we give the truth to men and everywhere. Let judgment run down as waters, and righteousness as a mighty stream. There are one or two steps we can take. First of all, we can meet every problem in the nation, in society, at home, in the church, in the name of Christ. This, of course, is not the safe thing to do. It's not the popular thing to do, because we're always fighting against a wicked and well-mechanized enemy. I remember during the war, a Dutch underground worker saying to me, "We did not win major battles. At best, we were a thorn in the side of an all-powerful wrong. We resisted what was neither true nor sane and died in our cause." The Dutch underground did not win the war. It was nonetheless on the side of human liberty and human sanity that finally prevailed against military might. I believe the church has got to stop being a caged parrot, just mumbling secular words and pious phrases. We need to become eagles that will mount upon high and go out across our world, determined to change that which needs changing and bring to life that which is dead. We need to be concerned as Christ's children with the absolute rule of his way of life in words and deeds. I believe a changed life is more eloquent than a multitude of pious sermons. Like the prophet, and like all men who have volunteered to follow Jesus, we must stand for him. No miracle will be achieved in the nation or in the church until we are in the genius of his leadership and the hope of our own.